In this video I paint Fjord from the Mighty Nein. Hello Bitsbreed, it's Craig from bitsbox.co.uk here with another Critical Role painting video for you. So I've done the Vox Machina and I'm now moving on to the Mighty Nein. And we're going to start with everyone's favourite half-orc, Fjord. So before we begin, as always, if you're new to this channel and you like all things hobby related, or you're just here for Critical Role videos and want to keep updated with when the new ones come out, then do feel free to hit the subscribe button down below. And before we begin, as always, there's a huge shout out and a massive thank you to all of our patrons for your continued support and just helping us support this channel. So thank you so much. And if you want to help us or give us any support and want to know what all our Patreon is all about, then there's a link down below. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So here we have our Fjord miniature, and with all these miniatures I've been priming them in Grey Sear spray from Games Workshop. So we're going to start by painting the brown on his armour, and I'm going to take some Catachan flesh for this, as it's a really nice sort of muted brown colour. So I've thinned out just a little bit with some water, and that will help apply it nice and smoothly onto the miniature. And as you can see, it covers really nicely. These little base paints do go over the Grey Sear really well. If you're using a black undercoat, you might need a couple of coats. So I'm going to take some Rhinox hide now, and this is to paint some of the darker brown areas, mainly sort of around his neck here and all his sort of belts and straps and stuff. So use a nice thin brush to paint this on the straps. I'm just going across the belt here as well. I also painted his boots, as you can see. I'm going to take some Corvus black now, and this is for his like cloth areas, this sort of tabard he's got there. I'm also painting his hair and his braces on his arms as well, and also his trousers. So pretty much the majority of him, what's left, what isn't his flesh areas, are going to be painted in this Corvus black. And then we're going to take some Mephiston red. This is going to be for this cord that he has, sort of kind of like a makeshift sort of belt thing. So you want to thin this out probably a bit more than I have here. That'll just make it get into all them little recesses a lot easier. And I'm going to take some Grey Knight steel now. So this is going to be for the metal areas on his sword. And I'm also going to do little buckles and details like that in this silver colour also. So just again, use a good point on your brush and just carefully paint those little areas. And just take your time with this step, and again you could thin it out a little bit to make it easier. I'm going to take some Nuln Oil shade now, and I'm going to shade over all of these areas with Nuln Oil. So this will give us a nice dark shadow and start bringing out all the detail. So go over all the areas, including the red, and that'll just really make these areas stand out just a little bit more. So next we can take some Blood Reaver flesh. I'll thin this out with some water, and we're going to start highlighting the brown areas, so the Catachan flesh areas that we painted originally. We're just going to edge highlight, as you can see on the arm. And just take your time with this step and just do all the edges around the armour like so. So next I'm going to take some Doombull brown, and I'm going to do the same as what we did with the lighter brown. We're going to do this on the darker brown areas now, and in hindsight I may have used a different brown for this. There's quite a big sort of jump in colour between these two. However, when it does dry, it is a bit more subtle, so it's not too bad. But you may wish to use a sort of less reddier sort of brown, but it's entirely up to you. But again, just the same rule apply. Just keep it thin and just sort of hit all the edges and raised areas. So next up I'm going to take some Eshen Grey, and this is to do pretty much the same thing with the areas of black. And with the tabard I'm filling it out and then just sort of hitting all the raised areas on that. And just running just the edge of my brush just along his cloak at the back. And very carefully just around these braces on his arms. I'm going to take some Administratum Grey now, just to add a further highlight just to the tabard. And I've thinned it out quite a bit because you don't want this to be too extreme once it dries, so it looks quite bright as it goes on, but as it dries that will be a lot darker, and that's sort of what you want here. You don't want it to be sort of too bright when it dries, but just hit the most sort of extreme points. So I'm going to take some Evil Sun Scarlet now, and you probably guessed at this point, this is to highlight the red areas. And I'm just doing little lines and dots of this, just to sort of simulate the texture there. You don't have to hit every little bit if you don't want to. Just little dashes and lines going along. And yeah, that'll just simulate the texture just a little bit. So next up, we're going to take some Warp Lightning Contrast paint. Now this is for all the flesh areas. If you've primed in a different colour, you may wish to paint the flesh areas a sort of a white or a light grey before you do a step, because if you were to do this over black, it just wouldn't really work very well at all. So over the lighter areas, this will cover really nicely. If you don't have contrast paint, you can just paint these areas with a light green and then do a dark green or even black wash over them, but contrast paints basically let you do both of them steps in one hit. And it's a really nice bright green as well. Once it's dry, it looks something like this. And we'll take some Skarsnik green now, and we'll thin this out a bit more than we would with our usual highlights. And just use this to highlight the flesh, especially the face. It will dry a little bit duller than this, but this gives us a really nice highlight on the flesh, and it's really helped bring out them details, and you especially want to just focus on the face. When it comes to the arms, I'm just sort of going over the raised muscle areas. Then I'm going to take some Lupercal green now, and this is for the darker areas of Fjord's flesh. I've used some artwork to reference this, but sort of the top half of his face, I apologise, it's a bit out of shot to begin with, but the top half of his face is this colour, and I've thinned it sort of out quite a bit, again even more than the previous step, and was just with a little bit over my brush, just very carefully going over these areas. And because we've already gone over green, it will cover really nicely, even at this very thin state. And because we've kept it thin as well, that won't obscure the details or anything like that, and your previous highlights will show through just a little bit as well. And I think like most of his arms are this sort of darker colour as well, so I'm just going over the top parts of his arms. And the final step is just to paint his base. Now you can do the base however you want, but in this series of miniatures I'm just painting all the bases with Abaddon Black. And I do about 2 or 3 thin coats to get a nice smooth finish. And this is the final Fjord miniature. So yeah, I'm really happy to be back on this series of Critical Role miniatures, and the Vox Machina were really good fun to paint, and I'm sure the Mighty Nein will be as well. Fjord certainly was, and I'm really happy with how this miniature turned out. So if you like this tutorial, then please do feel free to give us a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all the Critical Role miniature videos and any other videos that we put out in the future as well. So I'll be back in the next one with Beauregard. Until then, I'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please feel free to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. You can also click that bell icon to be notified when a new video has gone live on this channel. On the screen now are 2 more videos that you may wish to check out, and a link to our Patreon page also. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.